Hi, welcome to Funny You Should Mention, which is our show where we talk to a comedian and we find out why he or she says what he says. And I couldn't be more excited because Dusty Slay is with me. His new special is out on Netflix. Wet Heat. It's a wet heat. I shan't give away the joke. It's not about the joke. It's really about Dusty inviting you into his world. Welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is fun.
And your world started out in Opelika, Alabama?
Opelika, Alabama, yeah. Some people call it Opelika, and that's how you know it's a telemarketer when they call you.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Opelika. You know, but Opelika.
And you were like the king of Snopalika? There's actually snow there?
Oh, yeah. Well, they pumped it in. You know, we only get snow once in a while, but they did have a little snow machine where they were pumping it in. But they do a nighttime parade now. It's a big deal. Tons of people showed up, and I got to be the Grand Marshal of the parade.
The Grand Marshal.
I got to ride around on a float with all my friends out in the crowd that I used to party with, and I'm getting a key to the city from the mayor, and all my friends are like, I don't know if they're disgusted by it, but they're like, of all people, all the things we used to do here in this, and now the mayor's giving you a key to the city.
What was the kind of person, what station in life would a typical Grand Marshal of the Snopalika parade have before Dusty Slay was tabbed with that?
You know, I don't know. I don't think this has been going on very long.
Wait, did they invent the parade for you?
Maybe. I mean, the parade's been going on, but I don't know if they've been doing a Grand Marshal. The mayor had been there for 20 years. He became the mayor right about the time I left. Mm-hmm. I don't know that the old mayor would have given me such an award, but did
he have beef with you?
No, well, I don't know. I did get arrested one time, and
did.
I just think, yeah, and it could be he could have came to Western Sizzling, and I was his waiter. And he was looking for a lady to be his waitress, and it was a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah. So this is what I was reading the history of Opelika, and your history is different from the towns. But I know a little bit about you and how you hone in on certain words and phrases. And there's certain description I think you could have fun with. In 1882, two factions claimed to rule the city government. One known as the Bar Room, headed by Mayor Dunbar. That's not the current mayor. This is 1882. A saloon keeper, get it, the bar room. Mm-hmm. And another known as the Citizens. Here's the sentence. In a riot in late November, December of that year, a dozen men were wounded. In the end, a few of them were killed.
Wow.
Okay, so I don't know if what jumped out at you jumped out at me, but what about that sentence? I mean, you're learning a lot about Opelika, so that's good. Yeah,
I had not read that, but a few were injured.
Yes.
And then in the end,
yeah,
like they're almost covering it. They're writing it as they're watching. A few were injured. No, they were killed.
They write a dozen were injured. So that's a solid number. So we have the injury numbers.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the killed, which you might think is more important, they're kind of vague.
Yeah.
Some of them were killed.
Yeah. You don't want to lead with that, I guess, but maybe. Yes. And I also like that his name's Dunn Bar.
Yeah.
He's a saloon keeper.
Right.
And it's the bar room party. So bar a couple of times for him.
In terms of branding, I think he has a leg up on the Citizens.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, though. There's still a lot going on in Opelika. There was one I read where, it's a rail station.
Yeah.
So that when the train used to come through, they said they would instruct people to get down because people in Opelika would shoot at the train.
Why were they resentful of the train?
I think they were just drunk and bored, and they were like, here comes something to shoot at.
I know the Chicago-Miami Express used to roll through there, but it was since discontinued.
Oh, yeah, that's too bad.
The other part of that sentence was they said, in late November, December. And that reminded me of a few of your jokes. So the weird thing about late November, December is you could pretty much cross the November part off. What's November even doing any work there in late November, December? But it reminds me of a couple of your jokes where you talk about, first of all, you will sometimes tell the audience, this is a good joke. You're not going to like it, but it's a good joke.
I love doing that, yeah.
Okay, why do you do that?
Well, I think it's just fun. Like, you do a joke and maybe it doesn't go the way you want it to go.
Yeah.
I like to go, no, that is a good joke. I like to do that sort of thing too.
Right. Well, that's true after a joke and it gets a little bit of response. But in this special, you very much set it up with, I am now going to tell you a joke that you're not going to like. It's not offensive. but it's not, you're not going to
Yeah,
like it.
that joke in particular, I like that joke.
Yes.
I like the joke where well over, people say, oh, we've been in business for well over 50 years. And I'm like, well, how well over, right? But no one was laughing at it. But I like doing it. So I just started at one time at a show, I go, listen, this next joke, nobody likes it. And then so I kind of really played up how no one likes it. And then I did the joke and then everyone applauded. And I was like, oh, well, this is the way. This is how I'll do that joke.
Yeah, I think you're doing what you do without being explicit about it. You're really inviting the crowd into your world, like I said in the beginning. I mean, you're a very inviting comedian. You're not assaulting them. You're like, hey, join me in this observation. And I think that joke explicitly does that.
Yeah, I like that. I like the whole idea of like if I'm on a showcase or something with people that are more high energy, it may take a minute for the crowd to get into what I'm doing, but I just try to bring them in rather than force it on them.
Yeah.
Forcing it on them doesn't work well for me.
Now, with the well over 50 years, have you ever seen or heard the brag for over 54 years or for over 73 years, which if it's not 74, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
It is weird. It is weird. But yeah, I mean, it's weird to get specific.
Or to get vaguely specific. And it reminds me of an earlier joke. Tell me if you think that it's a similar joke where you're talking about a guy he brags about doing all of his Christmas shopping online. Do you remember this joke? What is the joke?
I said, this is a really old joke. I said, I heard this guy say, he said, this year I bought all my presents online. Well, except for some of them. And I was like, that's why we invented the word most.
Yeah, but those are two similar ideas. They're like the people saying it think they're conveying some sort of exactitude, and really they're just at a loss for the right language.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah, I had another joke about the word obituary. I was actually doing a radio show one time, and a guy on the thing said, obituary, and there was a girl on the phone who had called in, and she was like, "What'd he call me?" And yeah.
So usually though your jokes about words, which are my favorite. I don't know. Did you watch a lot of George Carlin?
Yeah, I bet. I mean, the baseball versus football is very
so I love jokes about words, and I love language, but that'll never just be your only punchline. There'll be scattered throughout the bit, but it'll be in service of a bigger bit. And that bigger bit is usually something about your life experience, or one of my favorites when you go over song lyrics. That's also one of my favorites.
I like country, though. I like that country song, It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere. You know that song? The song that justifies drinking any time of the day? You just say it's 5 o'clock and it's okay, right? It only works for drinking, though. You can't show up late for work and be like, hey, 9 o'clock somewhere. Be nice if that did work, though. If your boss is like, well, I can't argue with that logic. Hell, get in here. Hell, by that logic, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Let's get out of here. Let's get a drink. What are we even doing here?
Well, what happens a lot of times with me and jokes is it starts off as a longer joke, and then I start to find the real funny parts and whittle it down, and then it gets to be a smaller joke, and then you got a really nice framework, and then you can explore different things. Then you can add tags, and then it can go off in wild areas because you already got your framework built.
Right.
But with a song, it's like, you just got to find a song that has a story, and you have a character, and then you don't make fun of the song, you make fun of the character as if that character's really telling his story.
Right. So every time I've seen you do this, you always say, love the song. Great song from the 90s. And it's 5 o'clock somewhere. That's one of the songs you do it for. What's the one in the latest special?
That's Workin Man by Brooks and Dunn.
Okay. So I have to tell you, I am not the biggest country fan, which I think you have a joke about. I don't hate country at all. And when you said Brooks and Dunn, I was like, wait, that's not Garth Brooks, is it? But then I realized it was Kix Brooks.
Yeah.
Kix,
similar
one of the
time.
best Kicks.
Yeah, best Kicks. There was also a country singer named Doug Stone. Apparently when he came out, his name was Doug Brooks. And so
Way too many
they
Brookses.
recommended he
Yeah.
change his name.
And what's the Brooks and Dunn song you talk about on this special?
Hardworking Man.
Right, Hardworking Man.
Yeah. Well, this song,
You really lay some truths on that. I wonder if Brooks and Dunn really thought about it.
well,
that
I've
much.
tweeted at them
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. That, my last one, I had a couple of Travis Tritt songs, and I did tweet at Travis Tritt, and he responded.
Yeah.
And he seemed to really like it.
Yeah.
I don't know word on whether I did another song on there. I'm Already There by a band called Lone Star, I think.
Yeah, you said you like that.
They never responded to that one.
Yeah.
I don't think they cared for it. But but I actually don't like that song as much.
But do you admit that in the special?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do
comes through.
love
Yeah.
Hardworking Man by Brooks.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You're listening to the song and you're just enjoying it. And then you go, wait a minute. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And see, with the 5 o'clock somewhere, I just had this line that I wanted to write where I said, I like that song because, like Alan Jackson, I believe that you should never let your alcoholism get in the way of, never let your personal responsibilities get in the way of your alcoholism,
Right.
which I thought was a very funny line, but no one ever laughed at it. So I was like, well, let me listen to the song a few more times. They're really fun. And then as I started listening, I go, oh, there's a funnier thing here.
Yeah. Do you think with most of your audience, the laugh is that they knew the song and never really thought about the lyrics that way? Because I have to tell you, with the Brooks and Dunn song, I had never heard the song. I went on Spotify. I'm like, that's the song. I get it. I found another song that they sang about a woman who's not the cheating kind. Is that a Brooks and Dunn song? Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
That could be another one rife for comedy. But so I never knew the song, and the bit still killed. But with your audience, it's like, I know that song. I've been listening to it. I've listened to it hundreds of times, and I never thought of the lyric. You think that's what's going on?
Yeah, I think so, especially with 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
I think some of the others can get forgotten about a little bit, but my friend told me he was riding around with his mom and the Travis Tritt song came on where, he's like, a woman warm and willing. That's what I'm looking for, It's like, that's a pretty low standard.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said his mom laughed at that.
The warm part, especially. You know?
Yeah.
I guess the willing, we should give someone credit for, I don't know, the age of, for like believing in consent to some degree.
Yeah, it's tough to be willing if you're cold.
That's right.
If your body's cold, you're not willing.
The two are correlated. That is true. Yeah. Do you think you'll ever do a non-country song? I mean, do you listen to other kinds of music that strike you as terrible lyrics?
A little bit. There's a couple that I've thought of. There's a couple of rap songs that I like that I wanted to talk about, but it's they're a little dirtier.
Yeah.
So it's hard to really get into it. Like, I wanted to do a joke about the Ice Cube song Today Was a Good Day, which is a song I really loved when I was in high school. But I was at the bowling alley with my kids and in the middle of the day, and they're playing the edited version.
Mm-hmm.
But
does it have any words?
It's like, he's like, my beep ran deep, so deep, put her beep to sleep. And it's like, okay, Ice Cube, that's not clean.
If you asked him, he would say this was not meant to be played at bowling alleys.
Right,
Sure.
absolutely. I think he would complain if he was at the bowling alley with his kids.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? Get this off right now.
But there is a couple. There was like a Fleetwood Mac song that's like thunder only happens when it's raining.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, that's not true.
That's not true.
Yeah.
It's just meteorologically.
Yeah.
And like, if you want to diagnose why landslides happen, there's another one.
Oh, yeah.
Fleetwood Mac, it's meteorologically speaking, it's totally wrong.
Yeah.
They're all high, though. I think that's why.
Yeah.
We're all coked up the whole time. So the last thing you're going to do is get the barometric pressure right.
That's true. That is true.
Do your fans do they expect you to do a riff about a song every show?
Well, I don't have one in I do have a new hour now,
Yeah.
and I don't have a country song yet, so I'm thinking about it. I did, I get to do the Opry, and so I get to work with some songwriters sometimes. There's a guy named Don Schlitz.
Oh, yeah,
and,
that guy's a legend.
He wrote so many songs.
Yeah.
And he wrote The Gambler by Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
And we worked together. He saw me do the Brooks and Dunn breakdown, and he loved it, and he wanted me to do a Gambler one.
That would be good.
And I think that's a good one to do, but I haven't really found the thread for it yet.
Right. For a sip of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice. Just in terms, do you play Texas Hold'em?
Well, I know a little. I don't play, but I know a
Right.
little bit about them.
So if you go all in, this happens all the time, everyone stops and says, all right, how much money do you have? So you have to count your money when according to the rules that you have to count your money
that's
when you're sitting
interesting.
at the table. Yeah.
And also, he never really gives him advice.
That's not good advice.
He says you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and it's
Right.
like, yeah, but when?
Yeah.
I got to know it, but you're not telling me when.
Right. These are general rules. Like, okay, let me tell you how to be good in football.
Yeah.
You got to know how to score.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
how's
know
that
how
help
to
me?
score, know how to keep them from scoring.
You
Let me
gotta
get a
know-
cigarette and
you
some
gotta
whiskey.
know how to tackle.
Yeah.
You got any, like, aim for the hips? No, that's all I'm saying.
And then he bums a cigarette, drinks all his whiskey, and then dies.
Yeah.
It's like, you couldn't die without drinking all my liquor?
If you don't mind me saying, I could see you're out of aces. Well, sir, if you don't mind me saying, you're an inch away from dying.
Yeah, I'm also out of liquor.
Yeah. Who are you to tell me I'm out of aces? Yeah.
There may be something
there's
here.
something
Yeah,
there.
we're
People
working
love
it.
the gambler.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to know when to fold them. So is that in Nashville? Is the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville?
Yes.
Yeah. And Ryman Auditorium's in Nashville?
Ryman's downtown.
Yeah.
The Opry's out of downtown.
Right.
It's kind of, they call it the new Opry a lot of times, but it's like been there since the 70s, I think. So,
Yeah. What you call something an Opry, though? It can't be that cutting edge.
yeah.
Right?
Right. It can't be brand new.
Yeah. It's an Opry.
But it's very nice. I mean, it's 4,400 people. And when it's sold out, it's like, what's fun for me is that it's like, it's all country musicians. And then it'll be a showcase. And then I'll come out after some, country act.
Yeah.
I had to follow Vince Gill one time, which was really tough because he sings the saddest song of all time. And then I go, all right, we're having a good time. And but it's good because it usually takes them a minute to really get into what I'm doing.
Right.
But then by the end, I really got them.
You like that, right?
I
you
do like that.
being the opposite of everyone who's on the bill, which is why you do. You've said it a couple times here, which is why you tell people we're having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. The Comedy Cellar scares me a little bit because I only do the Comedy Cellar when I'm doing the Tonight Show.
Uh-huh.
So I got 5 minutes. Michael Cox is here to watch me. I can't mess around. I'm doing my 5. And then I've had the last time I was here, it was a hot set. I loved it. But the time before, I don't know, the first half was a bit of a bomb. And, but then
On the show, you mean?
at the Cellar.
Oh, at the Cellar.
In the Tonight Show, it always goes great.
It always works. Okay.
Thankfully. But actually, and I do think it's good for me to bomb a little bit at the Cellar before the Tonight Show. It makes me rethink everything, makes me really be prepared.
Right. So typically a comedian set at the Cellar would be 20 minutes, but when you're prepping for the Tonight Show, you only do the 5 you're allotted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's weird. That's a little weird because everyone else is doing 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just popping in real quick.
Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, the 2 times ago, I just released my special, and Dave Chappelle had just released a special, and the host brought me up and he said, "Oh, we got a special guest drop in. He just released a Netflix special, Dusty Slay." And I feel like all the air left the room. But so this time I was like, just say from Nashville.
Right.
And so there's no expectation. And then it went great.
But then it wasn't the fact or the case that everyone thought it was Nate Bargatze.
Well, in Nashville, I won't let them bring me up to, he's on the Nate Land podcast.
you can't
I
do
say
that.
no mention of that.
Right. So when you do, we're having a good time. This was, I'll explain for everyone, because all the comics will always ask, "Hey, you having a good time?" And after 12 of them, it's very welcome for someone just to take the reins and say, "We are having a good time."
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the audience, these showcases, they get so wore out. They go, "Oh, you guys having a good time?" And they're like, yeah, do the jokes. So I like to go, "Yeah, we're having a good time." And then also it's like, depending on the show, you go, "Are we having a good time?" You're worried the audience is going to go, "No."
Right. Do you think that could work with some of the other common phrases that comedians, the MCs will say, like, "Are you ready to laugh?" If you were to assert you're ready to laugh, do you think that would work?
I think so.
You're ready to laugh.
I think so. I mean, club owners may disagree and want the host to keep doing the "Are you ready to laugh?" But I think so. I mean, I host my show. I do a show at Zany's and I host my show. And I don't think I'm a great host, but I'll do my set at the beginning and then sometimes they get hot. Sometimes it's not that hot. And I go, well, my job was just to come out here and warm you up. And I think you're all just above cold. So that's good,
Warm and willing,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah. And I like that stuff. I love if I go last on a really long showcase, I go, I'm just out here to help you get to bed. I'm just here to wind it down.
Well, I've heard you aspire to do an ASMR comedy album.
Yeah, I'd like to do a sleep one where I just do, it's just very chill comedy. You can listen to it while you're going to sleep. Because I like to listen to podcasts sometimes when I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm in a hotel and I'm high.
Yeah.
I'll be too afraid to turn the lights off. So I'll listen to a podcast and then they start yelling or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't want that. That's why you need just a chill, relaxed.
What podcast do you like to listen to? Or what kind of podcast?
Well, I like gardening podcasts.
Cool.
Because I'm into gardening, but gardeners are not always the best podcasters.
Well, but they're probably not going to be yelling that much.
They
right?
don't yell that much, but an ad might
Topsoil!
come. Yeah.
Loam!
Yeah, I listen to what do I listen to? I don't know. I just want to hear people talk. Sometimes maybe a history video on YouTube will be good. You have to get YouTube Premium because then an ad will come in that does you. But even everybody's doing their own ads.
Yeah.
I get it. Everybody's got to make money, but an ad can change the flow.
Well, I like on the Nate Land podcast, you do the Bombas ads, you do other ads, but you really, for a guy with certainly a Southern accent, you have this trait. You hit your T's very prominently. So when the promo code is Nate, that really pops.
Yeah.
Now, is this, I don't know, people from your exact area of Alabama, is that part of either how they talk or did you train yourself to really enunciate the T's?
I really don't know where my accent comes from. I feel like even like when I was a kid, if you listen to videos of me as a kid or recordings, I'm very Southern. But my sister's 11 years older than me. She started dating a guy from Michigan when I was, 9 or so. And he's been in my life this whole time, right? So I was basically an older brother who's from Michigan.
Yeah.
So I think he started to influence my accent. Then I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, very old Southern town, but so many transplants from Ohio and other places that I was hanging out with all these Northern people. And now my wife is Canadian. And I'm like, I don't even know what my accent is. I'm still Southern, but
your wife has a Southern accent.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Your wife,
yeah, she picked it up quick.
Can she put it down when you guys go to Toronto? Does she do the es?
She'll still throw out an A once in a while, and she can lock it up some, but everybody. All her family talks about how Southern she is.
Yeah.
My accent, I don't know. It's, I'm obviously still Southern, but there's certain words that I think don't. Like my parents are both very country. And then my wife's dad is very Canadian, and she'll still say Zed.
Yeah.
They do. Their ABCs, they do Zed.
Yeah. And do they go nil or not? What are their zeros?
I don't know. I guess she does zero.
Yeah. Is the very Canadian and the very Southern, are there more overlaps than we might think?
Well, I think so. I think, weirdly, like with Canada, the majority of the population lives on the southern border. So it feels like everybody is more rural as you go north.
Right.
Whereas, in the States, it's like more rural as you go south.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're almost like you get so far north in Canada, you're like back in the south.
Yeah.
The accent's different, but she was raised in Peterborough, Ontario, which is a bigger town than Opelika, but she was raised on a farm, and she has cousins, and her uncle is a garlic farmer and soybeans, and so my dad lives on a farm, beef cows.
Yeah.
So.
But in Peterborough, the snow prince or princess, that's just known as everyone.
Yes.
It's known, Snow Festival is just known as Thursday.
They don't need to pump in snow there, that's for sure.
Another Opelika fun fact. I don't know if you'll consider it fun. And I talked about town mottos with TJ Miller for an extraordinarily long time. And it's not
Okay.
my shtick, but I got to bring it up because the Opelika town motto is rich in heritage with a vision for the future. And I say you got to pick a lane. I know you want to be everything, but to me, it's like the state quarters that have every single symbol associated with the state. No, just put the Statue of Liberty on it if you're in New York. I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I knew the motto, and I think sometimes the motto changes.
Uh-huh.
You know, at least on the car. I lived in South Carolina for a long time, and the car tags used to say like "smiling faces, beautiful places," and now it's something else.
Yeah.
but it's not as fun as "smiling faces, beautiful." But I think that's a fun kind of motto. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Opelika's old, I guess, but I don't know. Rich and heritage. I don't know. I don't even know what that
of the
means.
citizens versus the bar crowd
Yeah.
and the riot, the famous late November, December riot.
Yeah.
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 And maybe the only late part was the few who died. They were late.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
We've cracked the code.
Their last names were November.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Hatfields, the McCoys, the November. A couple other observations from your jokes. One is the untucked shirt.
Oh, yeah.
You can only wear the untucked shirt. I wouldn't say I can only wear it, but I much prefer it. But isn't it weird that there is a company called Untucked and there are shirts that are, quote, meant to be untucked? Shouldn't that be the default setting? That they have to market something to undo a really, if you think about it, weird way to wear a piece of clothing?
I agree. Because, I talk about that on the Workin Man special, but it is true for me. It's like, I used to have to, I had this job where I sold pesticides and I had a green polo with the collar and I had to tuck it in. And people in the Lowe's would come up and ask me to help them find stuff. And that's fine. But I would go to the grocery store after work and people would be like, hey, where's the bananas? I would go to I went to Dick's Sporting Goods. Apparently they wear green polos, at least at that time. I had to leave the store because people would not stop asking me for help. I'm like, I am at work, but I'm shopping on the clock here, guys.
Like, you have resting clerk face.
Yeah.
They're just, are you approachable or is it just the shirt? They don't see past the shirt.
I don't know. I mean, I did a thing in LA recently. I did a meeting and I pulled up to the garage and the guy goes, he comes up to my window. He goes, Uber Eats. I go, no, I have a meeting in here.
I thought he was going to like toss you the keys and tell you to park it. So when you, in your comedy special, talk about being in the grocery store and someone asks for bread and you do show them the bread, where does the truth of that end and where does the comedy artifice inject itself?
Well, I will, if I know where something's at, I'll help them find it. I actually,
okay, but now do you say, I don't work here, but, or do you just help them find it first and then maybe let it dawn on them that you don't work there?
Well, like if you're old, I helped a guy find some cookies in the grocery store the other day. I don't know if he thought I worked there or not, but he asked if I could help him find the cookies, and I found them for him.
Sure.
It's only if like the requests keep coming.
Right.
Like I'll help you find, and then they go, what about this? And I go, well, I don't work here.
Yeah.
And then it gets weird.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, why have you been helping me at all?
That's a weird question to ask someone.
Yeah.
Why have you been helping
I don't
me?
think
What's in it for you?
It's like, I don't know that they say it, but
Yeah.
they look at me
Right.
like, oh, what a weirdo. And I'm like, well, I know where the bread is.
But if you were truly one of the greats in the pesticide game, maybe you could move some units based on that relationship.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
The legend,
Yeah.
Doug Smurdliff, he'd be able to do it.
That's true.
Yeah.
But in a Lowe's, especially on the pesticide aisle, I knew that in every store. I knew, and the people would go, what about this? I go, no, they don't have that here. And they go, well, you used to. And I go, no, they didn't. That's the great thing about working in a store, but not for the store, is you got some free reign. You go, no, they didn't. And they go, no, they had it last year. And I go, no, I was here last year too. And I stocked this whole shelf.
What kind of pesticides?
Well, I work for a company called Spectracide. So I sold, we had
I'm going to guess the whole spectrum of pesticides.
Yeah, we had it all. We had hot shot. We had pesticides, herbicides, rodenticides, and for a while we had fertilizer. So I used to do it all.
Rodenticide is what
Yeah,
they call.
That's what they call what you kill rodents
Sure.
with. Yeah.
You would think it's a shame that pesticide's already taken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's
they're all
still
pests.
a pest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still a pest.
But they would, I think maybe you throw that in if you're really trying to look smart with it.
What was Roundup? Because they took that. Do you know about this? They took that off the market, and there was a huge lawsuit. Do you know anything about that? Can you talk about that now?
Well,
Dusty?
Roundup was my competition. So
Fuck 'em.
I sold. We had weed and grass killer, Spectracide weed and grass killer, and they had Roundup. So my job was, I'd stand on the aisle. I'd be stocking, I'd be doing other things, but if I'm on the aisle and somebody's going for some Roundup, I'd go, "Hey, have you ever thought about trying the Spectracide weed and grass killer?" You talk them into it. But I think it's what is it? It's the atrazine or something like that.
Something like that.
I forget.
So Roundup had it, but Spectracide didn't.
In our Spectracide weed and grass killer, it didn't have it. Well, it's not atrazine. It's another one that is very people talk about it now.
Yeah.
And it's really bad.
It's the new asbestos.
Yeah. But we had it. We also had a generic company that we represented, and it had it in there. But the Spectracide didn't have it.
When you were a pesticide salesman, and maybe you're making it sound more interesting than it was, but I could talk about this for a while.
Yeah. I used to get drunk in bars and talk to people about pesticides.
Were you wearing your uniform? Is that what started the conversation?
You try to talk to women and they ask you what you do, and you try to be vague about it because you want them to know you have a professional job with benefits and a car allowance, but you don't want them to know you sell pesticides. So you say, "I work for a chemical company," and they go, "Well, what kind of chemicals?" And then you could beat around the bush, but eventually you just go, "All right, I'm a pesticide salesman." Okay.
You beat around the bush until eventually you kill it with your herbicide.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then it comes up. Was your humor key to your success, as it were, in the pesticide business?
Well, I think I did very well in a lot of areas, but when people found out that I worked with, that I did comedy, these were people just in the Lowe's stores, and they would be like, "Oh, you do comedy?" They go, "You're not even really funny." And I go, "Yeah, I hate this job."
It turns out when my material is any song lyric in the world versus this one's pesticide and the possibly a tetracene in it or whatever it is, I don't have enough to riff on.
Yeah. At first, I really liked that job.
Yeah.
When I first got it, I really liked it. And I thought this is a good career move for me because I didn't go to college. So it's a job with health benefits and car allowance, and it allowed me to get a new car. And I felt very good. But, it's a corporate job. So they keep changing. I had the job for a year, and then they sold the pesticide, they sold the fertilizer, and then laid off half the company. So then my territory really grew.
Yeah.
And then so I had more work, same pay, more demand. And it just eventually you're like, all right, I figured out. My boss would be on me. I would have a week where I worked really hard in the store and my sales would be down. And then the next week I wouldn't do anything and my sales would be up. So I'm like, all right, so nothing that I'm doing matters.
Right.
So I would just, drink on the clock, and, I started dating a girl that was on the competition. And
You dated a Roundup girl?
Well, she worked for Bayer.
Okay.
Bayer and Monsanto now, I think, are a team. But back then, Bayer was separate. So I dated the Bayer girl. And
Monsanto said, "What corporation has a worse corporate history than we do? Maybe Bayer."
Yes, exactly. They were like, "Let's team up. Maybe we can take the heat together."
Were you doing comedy then? What was your comedy life?
I was doing a little comedy. I just got into it around 2008.
Yeah.
I've been doing some improv prior to that, but not really stand up. So I started getting into it. And so I was, but I lived in Charleston. So it's not like, when people, if people are in New York starting comedy, you can just perform any night of the week. In fact, it seems like you're wasting time if you're not performing every night.
Yes.
Especially in the beginning. But in Charleston, we got 1, maybe 2 open mics a week, and that's it.
And were they in the existing comedy club or somewhere else?
We had no club. We had an improv theater.
Yeah.
So we had a show there we would do, and then the others were bar shows. I hosted an open mic. I was hosting at a place called the Upper Deck, which is no longer exists. The building's still there, but it's now some weird kind of karaoke bar. But it was a great dive bar, lots of hipster type people in there, college people, and it would be packed, but they weren't there for comedy. So you were really battling an audience. So you learned to, I don't know, I felt like you learned to be tough with the crowd. And then I hosted trivia. I was a trivia host, which I felt like was good for comedy too. Not good for working out jokes, but good for learning to talk without people listening to you or caring what you have to say, which would come in handy later.
Did you put a lot of time and attention into the questions, or did they come from somewhere else?
No, they came from someone else. I worked for a company.
Okay.
They got the gigs. They gave me the questions, and we split the money.
Okay.
So I was just hosting, and people would yell at me. They would go, read a book, or quit drinking.
Sorry.
Because I would, I wouldn't be able to pronounce names correctly, and I would... I'd get pretty drunk by the end of the night, but I'm like, quit drinking. That's why I'm doing the gig.
This is the point.
Yeah.
Yes. Getting high when you're a restaurant server, drinking when you're a comedy host. I don't know, when you're a pesticide guy afterwards at the bar.
I did drink some during the pesticide days. I would go drink but it's not that I had anything to do that required, other than driving. I had nothing to do that required me, be sober. I mean, they required it.
But they had no means of enforcing it.
Yeah. But in most cases, if I did drink on the clock, I wasn't really doing any work. So there wasn't really a workman's comp issue.
When you worked at the Western Sizzlin', which is a weird name for different reasons than you point out, I think.
Yeah, well, it's on the East Coast. Basically, Alabama's in the east part of the country.
Oh, I see.
So it's not really the West at all.
Well, I was thinking about this. So it's a buffet. It's an all-you-can-eat?
It's buffet, but they also serve steaks.
Okay.
So a little different than like a Golden Corral or a Ryan's, where I would never dream of ordering off the menu at a Golden Corral. It's buffet or get out of here. But at Western Sizzlin', they actually had a good steak.
And if you opted in for that, then you weren't paying buffet prices. How would it work price wise?
Well, there's several options.
Okay,
you could go in and get the buffet
Yeah.
and the salad bar, or you could go in and get a steak and a salad bar.
Okay.
I think if you wanted, you could get the steak and a buffet. Probably be a little cheaper for the buffet.
Interesting.
They'd let you do whatever you want.
So my thought with the Western Sizzlin' was, you in the special and in your comedy talk about how it's a little like a Golden Corral, maybe a Silver Corral.
Yeah.
You keep taking it down. Bronze Corral.
I trashed it, but I'd be honest with you. It's better than Golden Corral.
It is better than Golden Corral.
better, but it's closed now. They bulldozed it down.
So it wasn't a chain. It was just one Western Sizzlin'.
It used to be a chain, and they slowly started and the guy who owned that one also owned one in Columbus, Georgia, which is close. And he owned it for many, many years. And then I put out the Netflix special, and then he sold it, and now it's become a quick trip. And I blame myself, but I think it really was just that it was really old.
Yeah. So my thought with the name, where you took it, was, of course, funnier than I with the golden, silver, bronze, and then an OK Corral, which I think is a funny joke. Does that count as a pun?
I don't know, maybe. But I think it's.
Yeah, it's a good joke. I was just thinking, well, why the Western? It's in the eastern part of the country, and it must be they're going for something possibly psychological to convince the patrons, like, you need to eat because tomorrow we're waking up at 6 a.m. We're going to herd the doggies. We're going on this big calorie producing job. And so it's a permission structure. I think maybe I'm doing too much work to figure out what's going on there psychologically.
Yeah. And I think there's like this thing of Montana, Wyoming, Texas, all kind of out west. They're doing steaks.
Yes.
We act like we're not producing beef in Alabama, You could have called it the Alabama Sizzlin'.
Yeah. Do people in Alabama think of themselves as having some kinship with people thousands of miles away in places like Wyoming and Montana because they're both rural in a way?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about Montana or Wyoming. I saw Westerns, and I wouldn't even a lot of them are in Utah and Arizona. And I just thought everything out of the South was a city. And I had no idea about anything.
Right.
I thought everything was a city, and that, we were the rural part of the country.
So when your sister's boyfriend from Michigan, you just thought he was from Detroit?
Yeah, he was from, he was from close to Detroit.
Uh-huh.
And his parents both worked for GM.
Okay.
they had a little money.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, I mean, they're fancy Michigan folks.
No-
I didn't know anything about Michigan, but I just thought Michigan was so fancy.
Michigan shows up in a lot of your jokes. Like when you're talking about like how you like to make chit chat with the weather, you go to Michigan for the place. Yeah.
Well, I have done a lot of comedy in Michigan.
Great comedy state.
Yeah.
They keep the weather cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about a lot of your life, and comedy is about growing up in a trailer. What kind of trailer? Because I know whenever I talk to people who grew up in trailers, they're very quick to say ours was a double wide or ours was whatever kind of trailer, to point out, oh, it wasn't that kind of trailer. Was yours that kind of trailer?
Yeah, ours was that kind of trailer. When people they love to say it was a double wide.
Yeah.
They do love that. People will tell me that. They go, oh, hey, I grew up in a double wide. I go, oh, okay, you grew up in twice what I grew up in. So you're just bragging at
That's
this
right.
point. The trailer park I lived in was small, probably 20 trailers. And then at the ends was double wides. And it really did feel like those
Like
people.
they anchored the park.
They were like fancier, even though they weren't. It just seemed like they were. I think they had more problems than the rest of us.
Sure. Mo trailer, mo problems, as they say.
Exactly. But, I liked it. We had it's like trailers they're built with this kind of press wood. Mm-hmm. And then over time, the heat, the moisture will swell up in areas and then make other parts thin, and the floor will fall through.
Oh my God.
So my mom was always very handy, and she would replace the floors with plywood. So we had very good floor, but my sister was renting a trailer at one point, and they weren't. The owner of the trailer wasn't fixing it. So they just put a piece of plywood down over the hole. So then you had a little, toe stump going around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my mom would do work to the trailer and fix it, and I liked it. It wasn't until a certain age that I even thought about living in a trailer. I was like, yeah, this is my house. And we had a great time. I had a bunch of kids that I played with in the trailer park. But yeah, it was a small, single wide, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. My one sister lived with her dad most of the time and would stay. And then my other sister lived with us. And so, I had no bedroom.
Right.
But it wasn't sad.
Where'd you sleep? The couch?
Couch, or I'd sleep my mom worked third shift.
Yeah.
So I'd sleep in my mom's bed, or I'd sleep with my sister and her husband. I mean, we were like, or not her husband, it was her boyfriend at the time.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. Well, otherwise it'd be weird. Yeah.
We were all very close.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he hated it.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I mean, we're brothers and sisters here. We sleep together.
Do you think that you benefited in some ways from being in the trailer?
Yeah,
It's
for
ways
sure.
Other than just it toughening you up, the closeness, the lack of pretension, not needing certain creature comforts later in life.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that for sure there was insecurities that I got, but I think that was more, probably just, insecurities that maybe my parents had that they didn't know how to work through themselves versus help me work through it. But yeah, I mean, I learned, I had a great time. So I really feel like I learned that you don't really need money to be happy, right? And I think that's a good lesson that I learned and will keep forever.
Yeah.
Now I want money, and because money creates options for you, and I want that for my kids. But I do think there is something to, just being able to appreciate all these things because you know what it's like to not have them.
You're an extrovert, aren't you?
I think so. I like to talk to. I think, in some ways, doing comedy has made me more of an introvert because
Do you mean like defensive and guarded?
Maybe, but I think that it just like I talk so much to people now that when I'm not doing comedy, I really value alone time.
Yeah,
but for sure, I like talking to people.
So I listened to you on the Nate Land podcast, which is Nate Bargatze, and there's a bunch of other comedians there. And I didn't realize you weren't part of the original group. People look at it now. There's a tile. There's the 4 of you, Mount Rushmore. You're Jefferson, I guess, or is ever on the far right. And I don't mean politically. I mean on the tile. But I listened to the first episode you were ever on, and you came on to talk about dinosaurs, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then the second episode you were ever on, you came on to talk about conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And I think they pegged you in the beginning. You were a lot of fun for them because of your disbelief in things like, well, it's not that you disbelieve dinosaurs, you disbelieve that humans and dinosaurs really were around at different times.
Yeah, I mean, my people somebody bought me like a dinosaur book for my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember learning about dinosaurs, and there was like, I don't know, a handful of them. And now this book is this thick, and we're going through. I'm like, you guys are just having fan fiction with these dinosaurs now. They're like, oh, yeah, and then this dinosaur. And it's like, this is a Marvel character.
That's right.
It's like, it's so ridiculous
His
now.
telekinesis, yeah.
And I'm just like, where are you getting this from? And I'm not saying it didn't exist, but I am saying, why are we not questioning these things? And everybody's like, oh, well, my uncle's a scientist, and he says you're an idiot. And I'm like, listen, I'm not saying I'm not an idiot. I'm just saying I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it all.
So here's my question. It worked great in the context, and they were all laughing. And everyone on the show was a continuum with you of the most disbelieving. And we just heard the nature of your disbelief. You're not going to yell at someone, like on a gardening podcast or wherever people yell. You're not going to yell at someone who does believe in dinosaurs. But in your stand-up special, I don't think you there is no word, provoke or prod with those kind of opinions. Not just your special. I don't know. I haven't seen all of them. But is that generally true? You won't put your...
I like to, for stand-up, I like to provide people with, just relaxing comedy, right? There's nothing, you're not going to get mad about anything. It's like everybody deserves a break from the world that we're living in, So you just come in for an hour and 20 minutes, depending on the show, and just relax and laugh. But yeah, everybody, we're doing all these podcasts now. We're just talking all the time. It's like, I'm out of things to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I like to, you get into some other stuff. And the thing about Nateland is Brian Bates and Aaron Weber are the other two hosts. And we've been friends for a long time. And we've been on the road a bunch together. So they know things to say to me. And Brian loves it. Like, I could be just on the podcast, just cool and chill. And Brian wants to bring me into the conspiracy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I get, everybody yells at me when I talk about it. So I don't want to bring it up, but he'll poke at me. And then I start talking about it. And then they go, oh, Dusty, I can't even listen to him.
So am I hearing that your sense of what makes for a good show, if it's the Nateland podcast, the good show is the dynamic with you being an outlier and a little bit crazier than the rest of them, or just providing fodder for the conversation. But your definition of a good show when it's just Dusty on stage is different and much more relaxed. So in a way, you're a showman, you're just applying it to the context of the situation.
Yeah, and this is the comedy that I like to do. I like to do relatable comedy.
Yes.
So if I come out and I'm like, dinosaurs aren't real, I feel like that's not relatable to everyone. And I don't think they're not real. I just think they're not I just don't believe everything.
Okay.
And
the feather part.
Yeah, feathers for sure, not the feathers. I don't even know where that came from. All of a sudden now they have feathers. Yeah. And I'm crazy if I believe dragons were real. I'm just saying, what are we talking about? And then I get like that about a lot of things, narratives that are presented to us. I go, let's just think, just recently on the podcast, they were like, the temperature of the sun is this much. I go, how do they know? Yeah. What thermometer did you use?
And what if they're off by 500,000 degrees, which is a lot of degrees?
Yeah. What thermometer did you stick in the sun? Right. I just don't believe it. I believe you might have an idea. Yeah. But say, this is what we think.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where if they mistake Fahrenheit for Celsius, no one would even be able to call them out. Right. They could have 50 years ago. One guy could have switched the C for an F and we'd be off by orders of magnitude and no one even caught the mistake. I'm with you. Yeah. Sun's really hot, more hot than you can imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
And you got the temperature of it. And then they go, and the core of the sun. And I'm like, you have no idea what's inside the sun.
Yeah. I'll give you something else. Global warming. So apparently our tiny little planet is warming, and yet we know the exact temperature of the sun. It doesn't seem like both things would be true.
That's all I'm saying.
That's all you're saying.
That's all I'm saying. It's like, who knows? Maybe it is warming. Maybe it's cooling. Some people think the fear is an ice age. I don't know. But I can't live in fear about it. That's my big thing. Apparently there's a counter here in the city that lets you know how many days we have left.
It's really
and-
quite inexact. And that counter, I want you to know, used to be an art project with random numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the one in Union Square,
Yeah, I
right?
just can't live in fear about it.
Yeah, it's probably true. But a lot of comedians I have on the show, and why I wanted to start the show is they use comedy to make people laugh, sure, but the things on their mind are real top of mind for them, political issues, and they don't want to browbeat anyone into their point of view. What they love doing is throwing out perhaps a dangerous idea or an idea that people wouldn't agree with and like playing with it. But the idea is political, and the idea isn't the kind of idea that most people in the audience would readily agree to. Do you think you'll ever move into that kind of comedy, or why doesn't it appeal to you now?
I don't know. Maybe so.
Yeah.
At some point, who knows? But I feel like for me, it's like I want everyone in the audience to be happy. I want them to leave the show going, you know what, that was really fun. I had a good time at this show. I don't want them to leave mad because it seems like overly cautious, I know, but I don't want them to leave mad because I said something that it can't help it every time.
Yeah.
People are I got a homeless joke that I feel like has upset some people once in a while, but my joke really is about admiring the freedom, of not having a schedule. But I feel like it's upset people because they think I'm making fun of homeless people, which I have a lot of sympathy for homeless people. But I don't know. I'm not into it right now. On podcasts, I think, hey, it's a little long form here. We can get into some stuff. We can explore some ideas. But with stand-up, I just want people to know that if they come see me, it's just going to be laughs. It's going to be me trying to get as many laughs out of you as I can and not pressuring you to do anything.
So, but the thing is, you're thinking about these things, and we hear you on other shows being very funny about these things. Is it ever the case where you come up with like a really good joke? It's just on a topic that depends on the premise of you being doubtful of dinosaurs, something like that?
Yeah, I might. I mean, if it comes to me in that way, I might do it.
Have you ever thrown away a joke just because I think this might be off-putting or off-brand from who I am trying to be for the audience?
I think only dirtier jokes.
Yeah.
I do think of dirtier jokes sometimes, and I'll do them at open mics and stuff like that in Nashville just for fun.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's mainly the only ones that I ever like throw out because I go, I wouldn't. I'm not going to do that in my. And even though my show's not completely clean, I like to say it's relatively clean.
Yeah.
But I don't. I always tell people not to bring kids to the show.
Yeah.
Because I am an adult doing adult comedy.
Right.
But I mean, and that's really the only. I got some jokes I'm doing right now in my new set where I'm talking about how we're naming all these stores, thing like Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm like, it just seems like we're doing everything like that now. And the joke, it feels like my dirtiest joke. And all I'm doing is naming these stores. Like in Iowa, there used to be a gas station chain called the Come and Go. I'm like, let's take it easy, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Imagine there's definitely people who've been to both in a single trip.
Yeah.
They needed to go to the Come and Go to get to Dick's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why are we doing this? I think they'd still shop there if we just called it Richard's,
Yeah. Or just pick one of the two, the Come or the Go.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just call it gas station. I don't even know that we need
Petrol service.
Yeah.
The Come and Go. Also, how didactic. How much do you have to hold people by the hands to tell them, here's the deal with the gas station. You can't stay. You can't stay.
Right.
It's not an apartment building that happens to have gas.
Yeah.
Like, isn't every business like eventually get out? Isn't that implied?
Yeah, like gas stations love that sort of thing, like the Stop and Shop.
Right. Two things in one. There's one with a pick. Like
they love a thing. You come in here, you buy some stuff, and then you get out of here.
Well, now I'm reading that more gas stations are going to have charging stations as more of the fleet goes electric, and it takes a lot longer to charge than it does to fuel up. So it's going to be a boon time for gas stations because they're going to sell a lot of things. So that biggest Buc-ee's that you guys were talking about the other day?
Yeah.
It's going to be eclipsed by other Buc-ee's that are much bigger. Yeah.
Well, what I like about that is you can, with an electric car, you can finally smoke at the pump again.
Thank God. You could have in the old days. It was
Bring
just looked down
cigarettes
upon.
back, and then
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
smoke at the pump.
Yeah. Remember people there was a time when they told you, maybe the kind of people who said that they don't totally believe in dinosaurs, that you shouldn't use your cell phone at the pump because that was going to cause a
Oh,
spark.
yeah, I
Did you get
remember
that
that.
rumor?
Yeah, I remember
that
that.
wasn't true.
Yeah.
But then it was also going to cause a brain tumor. There's a lot of things
Yeah.
that they said it was going to cause. Do you think
That may be true.
Yeah, that may be true. In your latest, we haven't done the math on
Yeah.
it. In your latest, I think it's the latest special, you talk about washing your hands. Or
Oh,
is that-
that's still Working Man. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So that's the one before this.
Yeah.
Do you think your habit or dislike of washing your hands at all ties in with the questioning science stuff?
Well, yeah. I think we should be washing our hands.
Yeah.
But I think it's out of control.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's times that I go to the bathroom, go in there real fast. I don't even touch anything. I got a whole method for not having to touch anything but my pants. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And then you don't give me any hand towels. I got to stand under this thing.
Yeah.
I stand there for 5 minutes and then still have to wipe it on my jeans.
It's the worst.
It's all performative.
Yeah.
Now, if you're pooping, let's wash our hands, right? I mean,
Okay, I'm glad you
is a
said that
rule.
because you didn't make that clear in the special.
I didn't.
Yes,
But
yes.
that is, I mean, if you're wiping, let's wash it up.
But you're a victim of non-hand washing more than most. I speak of your dipping experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a good lesson. If you're gonna
But you
dip,
didn't. But the lesson didn't take.
no. I mean, I quit dipping. You know,
Okay.
so it's a
So
lesson.
it's
Yeah. I mean,
okay. So what happened was
I go, what do I like better, dipping or washing my hands? And
So
then
you would
I gave up dip.
not wash your hands, and then you hit yourself with the contact lens.
Contacts, yeah.
Yeah. And so of the two things, like all you needed to do was wash your hands, and then you could dip, and then you could put the contacts in, but you gave up dipping. I guess it was good
You
for
know
your
what I do
gum.
now, though? I grow a garden, and
Yeah.
I grow peppers. And the other day, I made a soup.
Yeah.
And I cut up some peppers,
Yeah.
put it in the soup.
Yeah.
And then when I was done, I rubbed my eyes.
my God.
And then my whole face was on fire, and my eye was burning, and there's nothing I could do. And so it's still happening.
Yeah.
But I could have washed my hands.
Well, luckily, your best friend Milk comes in handy then.
Yes. And milk, milk, that's that story really did happen. A lady came up to me and asked me, had I ever milked cows? And then asked me, did I want to? And I said no. But
Do you think she meant it right then and there?
I don't know. I was in Iowa. I was opening for the band Alabama, the country band Alabama.
Wow.
And I liked Alabama. So after my part of the show, I went out to the crowd to watch.
Yeah.
And this lady came up to me, and I don't know what she meant.
You ever see Alabama's record sales? Like how many records they've sold?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's well over 50 million.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well
yeah.
over, yeah.
Do they just tour because what? They're not the original members, a manager stole their money, or they love it? They love the music.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's still two of the original members.
Okay.
And I don't know why they do it.
They're not from Alabama? Is that the
They
case?
are from Alabama.
They are from Alabama.
Fort
Okay.
Payne.
Okay. Maybe they just need to tell America that if you're going to play in Texas, you better have a fiddle in your hand.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people might know that.
Well, I don't know. And I don't know that that's still going. I mean, I think people are playing in Texas now without fiddles.
Sans fiddle.
I
That's
think
not right. They're taking their life
really,
into their hands.
Texas is slipping.
So, I like your milk set. I mean,
I
don't-
love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was saying at the beginning, where a joke starts out and
Yeah.
then you whittle it down to the funny parts, and then it just starts to grow. Because it did. I remember I was in Oklahoma City at a club called Bricktown, and I just started riffing on milk. And it just, and I was also in Louisiana ripping on Lafayette, Louisiana, riffing on milk. And it was just crushing. And I was like, oh, this is good. And then I started working it, and it wasn't getting the laughs that it was getting in Louisiana. And I was like, oh, no, I gotta work this out. And then I did work it out. And I'm like, I don't know. I do think about that with milk, right? It's like, and I'm sure other people have pondered this too. But
Well,
if you can drink goat's milk, cow's milk, but that's really about it.
I guess
think.
there's yak's milk. I was
yak's
considering.
milk,
That's
okay.
pink, I think. But you're right. There are every mammal makes milk.
And my point is that at some point you got to think they were trying out all the milks.
Yeah.
Did they land on cows first and they go, this is so good, what else is there?
Yeah.
Or did they have to work their way to cows?
Do you know the David Brenner was once on the Tonight Show? Do you know about this?
No.
And so Johnny Carson turns to him and says, I don't know if it was a setup, but he says, who do you think the bravest man in world history was? And his answer was the first man who drank milk.
Oh, yeah.
Because he looked at a cow and said, whatever comes out of there, I'm going to drink.
Yeah.
And that killed to the point of, I don't know, the story goes that he kept getting invited back and then hosted the Tonight Show. But, just in terms of, what's the word for it? Not horticultural, but agricultural history. Like, you watch the calves do it. You're a human, you do it. There's like a pretty easy flow from A to B is what I'm saying.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, you watch the cow doing it, the cow's strong, and
Yes.
you go, I want to get in on that.
Right.
And then, I would say a braver person might be the one that tried cheese for the first time. Like you're scraping it off the top or whatever. I don't know.
Right,
I don't make
right.
cheese, but
It's like, it's not just the milk, it's whatever happens to the milk after a while.
yeah,
Yes,
and even my
exactly.
mom, my mom grew up poor. Her parents, were raised during the Great Depression, and they had a garden and stuff like that. And they said buttermilk was all they had.
Right.
And once in a while they would get what they called sweet milk,
Sweet milk.
which is, regular milk.
Yeah.
But they would drink buttermilk all the time, which
Wow.
is disgusting.
But high in calories, which is back then you needed calories.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're humans and we need calories, but mostly we need to cut out calories these days.
And my dad, it was my mom would tell the story about my dad saying that he used to work with a guy and the guy would buy him chicken just to watch my dad eat chicken because my dad would he cleans a bone. It is unbelievable what he eats on a chicken leg. Now, it may be different now. He's older, but he told me, he's like, well, when I was growing up, you got one piece of chicken. There wasn't extra chicken. We weren't going to a buffet.
Right.
It was one piece. So you ate everything you could eat.
And then you throw the bone in a pit out back if it's your dad.
Yeah.
And some guy would
yeah.
explore it.
I think dogs used to eat chicken bones. Somewhere along the way, dogs, they were like, don't feed the dog chicken bones. I'm like, what? Dogs eat bones.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they say don't do it.
The other thing about milk is the cow, I guess, is the biggest animal around in North America. I wonder if in Africa or other places, well, Asia, the yak, but I wonder in other places if they milk the water buffalo, if they milk, I don't even know if you can milk an elephant or a giraffe. You can. It might be dangerous. I don't know if that was tempting to them.
Yeah. I bet.
Elephant milk. I'd drink it.
You drink it or
I
you
would
would?
drink it. I'd drink it.
I
Sign me
wonder.
up.
I would think it would be dangerous. I mean, it'd be hard. Did they have domesticated buffaloes?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think maybe in Asia, like you always see the Vietnamese farmers with the big.
What I like
kinda
about this
scraggly
question,
buffaloes.
though, is this feels like the old days, right? Because we could look this up.
Yeah.
But it's not as fun.
No.
It used to be, I remember a time, I'm 43. I remember lots of time before the internet was so handy.
Yeah.
And we would just sit around and talk about things and think about it. And then you may never really know the answer.
Let me ask you, is that sincere? You're a very nice guy, or is that a passive aggressive way to say, Mike, look it up?
No, I do like that because I was saying this, you can't even lie to people anymore. Right. They just look it up. I'm like, let me mess around
and
a
think
little
of
bit.
all, for a comedian or anyone trying to be interesting, think of, even if you're wrong, all the ideas that come up from just getting things wrong or following ideas down roads that might not lead to anything other than dead end, but it's still fruitful, can be fruitful.
Yeah. I mean, and just even sitting around thinking is good for your brain. I think we were processing things. Whereas now, I don't think we process anything. We just take it in. We're just taking it in.
Yeah. I'll tell you another thing is that intelligence used to be retaining a lot of information. And then the idea of, well, why do you need it up there? It's right here on your phone. But man, having it up there is really useful to make instant connections. And also when you talk so that you don't keep saying, oh, the guy who was the other guy, having the actual names. It's great for a comedian. It's good for a podcaster. It's great for regular people.
Yeah.
To have that retrieval.
Yeah, I mean, with stand up, it's like sometimes I have a real hard time with names, but with stand up, I feel when I'm on stage, I feel so sharp and it's really great. And I that would be the worst thing for me to like lose the sharpness of memory.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like that would affect my stand up so much. Because, I'm not saying I'm the quickest guy in the room, but I feel like things are firing well. So when I'm riffing, things come to me.
Do you get in the zone like an athlete does?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I can physically, I can feel bad. And then I'll go, I don't even want to do this show. And then I get to the club or get to the theater, and then I start feeling it. My body starts to, and then I walk out on stage and I feel good.
What about one of those gigs that's 6, 8, and 10, 3 shows, and then you do that on a Friday and a Saturday? Does that get to you?
Oh, yeah, I hate that. Yeah. There's only a few clubs that I ever did that. And I remember Side Splitters in Tampa and the Punchline in Atlanta. And I love those clubs. But man, that it'd be 6, 8, and 10. That 10 o'clock show was brutal because I wasn't selling tickets when I was doing those shows. So 6 would be pretty packed.
Yeah.
8 might be sold out, but then 10 is like we could have not did this show. But
There's some extra seats at the 8, guys.
Yeah, so I'm like, I just did my best show.
Yeah.
Now I got to do this extra one for drunk people in Tampa that are just partying.
Oh yeah, in Ybor City.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Did you use the opportunity to go wild or try some different things, or do you just keep it actually tight and get the hell out of there?
Well, it depends. If the audience is fun, but like say they're not into the setup punch, but they're fun, I would riff. I would really get wild with it because that's what I liked about doing bad gigs on the road. I used to do a lot of road gigs. And it's like once you go out and you give them your best jokes and they're not really laughing, you go, all right, well, I'm just going to try the new jokes because I know the reaction I'm supposed to get off the good joke and I'm not getting it and it's killing me. But I don't know the reaction I'm supposed to get off this new joke yet. So if I get anything, that's a win.
Yeah. Well, I will tell everyone that you kill it in the Wet Heat special, new on Netflix, and also let's plug he's on Nateland, and Dusty has his own podcast that he does with his wife, or he did with his wife. She sometimes shows up, and it's his catchphrase. It's
the We're Having a Good Time podcast.
We're having a good time. And I will give you this compliment that usually I hate when the audience is too with a comedian. If it's Chris Rock, I understand you lose your mind. But sometimes when you could tell the audience is in the bag for the comedian and they laugh at his setups, and I, as the audience at home, say, well, you still have to prove to me you're funny. I did not have that effect. I was along for the ride and rooting for you even before I got to know you as much as I have here.
Right.
So
well,
you did a great
that.
job.
Thank
you got
you.
it. Dusty, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah.